Close your eyes for a moment and imagine that inside your head exists a universe far more mysterious than the night sky. While the stars above stretch across unimaginable distances, your mind holds something even more astonishing. A living network of nearly 86 billion neurons, quietly whispering electrical messages to one another in delicate pulses of light. Every thought you have ever had, every dream you have ever drifted into, every memory that feels soft and distant like fog over a calm lake, all of it lives within this silent galaxy. And tonight, as we gently explore the science of the mind, we begin not with complexity, but with wonder. Because the most extraordinary fact about your brain is that it never truly sleeps, even when you do. Beneath your calm breathing and relaxed body, billions of tiny signals continue to travel along microscopic pathways, like lanterns floating slowly down a river in the dark. Scientists have discovered that even during deep sleep, the brain remains active, organizing memories, repairing cells, and softly replaying pieces of your day like an editor stitching together a quiet film. It is almost poetic to imagine that while you rest, your mind works tenderly in the background, protecting you, restoring you, preparing you for tomorrow. The human brain weighs only about 3 pounds, yet it consumes nearly 20% of your body's energy. That is more energy than your muscles use while walking. Even now, as you sit peacefully listening, your mind is performing calculations, predicting the next word, interpreting tone, maintaining your balance, regulating your heartbeat, and managing thousands of invisible processes that keep you alive. And the most fascinating part is that you are not consciously aware of most of it. The mind is both the stage and the director, the storyteller and the audience. It creates your experience of reality, shaping colors, sounds, sensations, and emotions into the world you believe you see. Without the brain's interpretation, light would simply be waves, sound would be vibrations, and touch would be pressure. It is your mind that transforms physics into feeling. Neurons communicate through tiny electrical sparks known as action potentials. These sparks travel along thread-like structures and leap across microscopic gaps called synapses, releasing chemical messengers known as neurotransmitters. Imagine standing on a quiet shoreline at night, watching bioluminescent plankton glow beneath the waves. Each flicker of blue light resembles the firing of a neuron. Small, brief, yet profoundly meaningful. When billions of these signals synchronize, they create thoughts, emotions, and consciousness itself. And yet, despite decades of research, scientists still do not fully understand how this electrical storm becomes the experience of being you. This mystery is known as the hard problem of consciousness, and it remains one of the greatest unsolved questions in science. How does matter become awareness? How does a network of cells produce the feeling of warmth, nostalgia, or love? The answer drifts just beyond our grasp, like a distant star shimmering on the horizon. As we move deeper into the science of the mind, we begin to notice something comforting. The brain is not rigid. It is beautifully adaptable. This ability is called neuroplasticity, and it means your brain is constantly reshaping itself based on experience. Every time you learn something new, practice a skill, or even repeat a thought pattern, connections between neurons strengthen. It is like walking through a forest and slowly creating a path. The more you walk it, the clearer it becomes. This is why habits form. This is why memories fade or grow stronger. And this is why healing is possible. Even after injury, the brain can reorganize itself, rerouting functions through alternative pathways like a river finding a new course after a fallen tree blocks its flow. There is something deeply soothing about knowing that your mind is not fixed. It is alive, dynamic, constantly renewing itself. Each day, new neural connections bloom like tiny spring flowers. Each night, unnecessary connections are gently pruned away, maintaining balance. Scientists have observed that during sleep, the brain even washes itself with cerebrospinal fluid, clearing away metabolic waste in a process sometimes compared to a nighttime cleaning system. Imagine a quiet city after midnight, street sweepers moving slowly under amber lights, restoring calm order before morning arrives. That is what your brain does for you every single night. And perhaps the most peaceful thought of all is this: your mind evolved not for perfection, but for survival. Its fears, its sudden worries, its wandering thoughts, they are echoes of ancient systems designed to protect you. When your heart races, when your attention shifts suddenly, when your imagination creates scenarios, these are not flaws. They are protective mechanisms shaped over millions of years. Understanding this brings gentleness. It reminds us that the mind is not an enemy to control, but a companion to understand. Tonight, as we continue this journey into the quiet science of the mind, allow yourself to feel a sense of calm curiosity. Inside your skull rests the most intricate structure known in the universe. It hums softly with electricity. It glows with chemical light. It dreams, remembers, predicts, and feels. And the deeper we explore, the more we realize that the greatest mystery is not somewhere out there among distant galaxies, but within the quiet, living universe inside you. If you listen very carefully, beneath the silence of the night, you might imagine the soft hum of something alive and luminous inside your head. Thoughts do not arrive with footsteps, and they do not announce themselves with sound, yet they appear constantly, like clouds drifting across an open sky. One moment there is nothing, and the next, an idea, a memory, a question, or a feeling gently forms. But where does a thought truly begin? How does something invisible take shape inside a 3-pound organ made of cells and water? Tonight, we drift quietly into the birthplace of thoughts, where science meets something almost magical. Deep within the brain's intricate landscape, billions of neurons rest in delicate networks, each one connected to thousands of others. A single neuron by itself cannot create a thought, just as a single musical note cannot create a symphony. But when groups of neurons fire together in coordinated patterns, something remarkable happens. Electrical signals travel along slender branches called axons, reaching out like glowing threads in the dark. When these signals reach the end of a neuron, they leap across tiny gaps called synapses, carried by chemical messengers known as neurotransmitters. It is here, in these microscopic spaces, that the foundation of every thought begins. Imagine standing above a vast city at night. Streets glow with flowing traffic lights, intersections flicker with movement, and entire districts brighten or dim depending on activity. Your brain functions in a similar way. When you recall a memory, certain networks light up. When you solve a problem, another pattern begins to shimmer. When you feel joy, yet another constellation of neurons glows softly. A thought is not located in a single place. It is a pattern, a temporary arrangement of electrical energy moving through a living web. Scientists using advanced brain imaging have discovered that even when we are resting, not actively focusing on anything, the brain remains busy. There is a network known as the default mode network that becomes active during quiet reflection. It is often engaged when you daydream, imagine the future, or revisit the past. This network weaves together memory, imagination, and identity, helping construct the ongoing story of who you are. So even when you believe you are doing nothing, your mind may be gently narrating your life in the background, stitching moments together like a patient storyteller. But how does a single thought rise into awareness? Before you consciously recognize an idea, activity has already begun beneath the surface. Studies have shown that measurable brain signals appear milliseconds before you become aware of making a decision. It is as if the brain prepares the stage before lifting the curtain. By the time you notice a thought, it has already traveled through several neural pathways. This realization can feel mysterious, even humbling. It suggests that much of your mental life unfolds quietly below conscious awareness, like roots growing beneath the soil. Neurotransmitters play an essential role in shaping thoughts. Chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, and glutamate influence how signals move and how strongly neurons connect. Dopamine, often associated with motivation and reward, can make certain thoughts feel exciting or important. Serotonin can stabilize mood, influencing whether thoughts feel calm or heavy. These chemical messengers do not create thoughts alone, but they color them, much like light filters can tint a photograph. A hopeful thought and an anxious thought may arise from similar circuits, yet the chemical balance within the brain shapes how they feel. There is something beautifully fluid about this process. Thoughts are not solid objects. They are dynamic, constantly shifting patterns. one thought can activate another, creating chains of association. You might think of the ocean, which reminds you of a childhood memory, which brings the scent of salt air into your imagination, which leads to a feeling of nostalgia. This cascade occurs in fractions of a second. The brain links experiences through shared neural pathways, forming vast networks of meaning. Over time, frequently repeated thoughts strengthen these connections, making certain mental paths easier to travel. This is why habits of thinking form so naturally. The more often a pathway is used, the smoother it becomes. Yet the mind is not a rigid machine. It is adaptable and creative. New thoughts can form when distant neural networks connect in novel ways. Creativity often arises when the brain combines ideas that were not previously linked. During moments of insight, different regions synchronize briefly, allowing a new pattern to emerge. Scientists sometimes observe sudden bursts of high-frequency brain waves during these flashes of realization. It is as if scattered stars suddenly align into a new constellation. Even emotions shape how thoughts are born. The amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure deep within the brain, scans for emotional significance. If something feels threatening or meaningful, it can amplify related thoughts, bringing them into sharper focus. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, located just behind your forehead, helps regulate and evaluate these thoughts. It weighs possibilities, considers consequences, and gently guides decision-making. Together, these systems balance instinct and reflection, emotion and logic. As you relax tonight, notice how thoughts rise and fall on their own. You do not need to force them. They appear, linger briefly, and dissolve. This natural rhythm reflects the living activity of your neural networks. The mind is never frozen. It is more like a river than a stone. Some thoughts flow gently, others rush quickly, and some swirl in quiet eddies before fading. Perhaps the most comforting truth is that thoughts are not permanent. Because they are patterns of activity, they can change. New experiences reshape the networks that generate them. Mindfulness, learning, conversation, and rest all influence the architecture of thought. Even silence has an effect. When you allow your mind to settle, certain networks soften, and new clarity can emerge. So as we continue this journey into the sleepy science of the mind, let yourself feel a sense of wonder. Inside you, billions of cells communicate in shimmering patterns, giving birth to every idea you have ever known. Each thought is a brief spark in a vast internal cosmos, delicate, dynamic, and beautifully alive. And in the quiet spaces between those sparks, there is calm, waiting gently for the next flicker of awareness to appear. Some memories feel like warm candlelight glowing softly in a quiet room, while others drift like faint mist across a distant landscape. You can remember the sound of a familiar voice, the color of a childhood home, or the simple feeling of standing beneath a wide open sky. But where do these memories live? How does the mind capture moments and preserve them, sometimes for decades, sometimes only for seconds? Tonight, we gently wander into the architecture of memory, where science reveals that remembering is not like opening a dusty old book. It is more like rebuilding a scene each time you visit it. Deep within the brain lies a small, curved structure shaped almost like a seahorse. This structure is called the hippocampus, and it plays a central role in forming new memories. When you experience something, a conversation, a place, a new idea, your senses send information to different regions of the brain. Visual details travel to the visual cortex, sounds to the auditory cortex, sensations to areas that interpret touch. The hippocampus acts like a careful librarian, gathering these scattered pieces and binding them together into a single experience. It does not store the memory permanently itself, but it organizes and stabilizes it so it can be distributed across the brain's vast networks. Imagine building a mosaic. Each tile represents a detail, a color, a sound, an emotion. The hippocampus arranges these tiles into a pattern. Later, when you recall the memory, the brain reactivates many of those same neural patterns, reconstructing the mosaic once again. This means that memory is not a perfect recording. Each time you remember something, you are recreating it. Small details may shift. Emotions may subtly change the tone. Over time, Memories can evolve, blending with imagination and new experiences. There are different types of memory, each with its own quiet purpose. Short-term memory holds information briefly, like remembering a phone number just long enough to dial it. Working memory allows you to manipulate information in the present moment, such as solving a simple problem in your head. Long-term memory, however, stretches far into the past. It includes episodic memories, which are personal experiences tied to specific times and places, and semantic memories, which are facts and knowledge about the world. There is also procedural memory, the silent memory of how to ride a bicycle or tie your shoes. Interestingly, procedural memory relies more on structures like the basal ganglia and cerebellum than on the hippocampus, which explains why some skills remain intact even if other memories fade. Sleep plays a deeply important role in strengthening memory. During certain stages of sleep, especially slow-wave sleep, the brain replays patterns of neural activity that occurred during the day. It is as though the hippocampus whispers to the cortex, repeating important information until it becomes more stable. This process is known as memory consolidation. Without sufficient sleep, new memories may remain fragile, like ink that never fully dries. When you drift into restful sleep, your mind quietly reviews and organizes, deciding which experiences to keep and which to gently release. Emotion also shapes memory in powerful ways. The amygdala works closely with the hippocampus, especially when experiences carry strong emotional weight. Moments of joy, fear, surprise, or sadness often feel more vivid because emotional arousal strengthens neural encoding. This is why you might remember exactly where you were during a significant life event, yet forget what you ate last Tuesday. Emotion acts like a highlighter, marking certain experiences as meaningful. Yet memory is not simply about preserving the past. It also helps you imagine the future. When you plan or daydream, your brain uses many of the same regions involved in recalling memories. It rearranges fragments of past experiences to simulate possible outcomes. In this way, memory becomes a tool for creativity and survival. By remembering what has happened, the brain prepares for what might happen. There is something profoundly comforting in understanding that your memories are living patterns rather than static objects. They are not locked away in a vault. They breathe softly within neural networks, strengthened by repetition and softened by time. Even forgetting has purpose. The brain constantly prunes unused connections, clearing space for new learning. If every detail of every day were permanently preserved with equal intensity, your mind would feel unbearably crowded. Forgetting allows clarity. It creates room for growth. As you rest tonight, you might notice fragments of memory drifting gently through awareness, perhaps a familiar melody or the image of a quiet place. Behind the scenes, neurons that once fired together are firing again, recreating a pattern shaped long ago. The hippocampus, though small, has helped weave countless experiences into the story of your life. And yet, it does so with remarkable humility, working silently beneath your awareness. Science continues to explore the mysteries of memory, but one truth remains steady. Remembering is an act of reconstruction, a delicate dance between past and present. Each time you recall a moment, you are not simply retrieving it, you are reimagining it. This makes memory both fragile and beautiful, like tracing shapes in sand that shift with the tide. Inside your mind, billions of connections shimmer quietly, holding echoes of laughter, learning, love, and loss. They form the architecture of who you are. And as we continue this gentle journey into the science of the mind, we begin to see that memory is not just storage, it is storytelling, continuously shaping the narrative of your inner world, one reconstructed moment at a time. There is a quiet language flowing through you at every moment, a language without words, without grammar, yet powerful enough to shape your entire experience of the world. Before a thought fully forms, before logic begins to analyze, there is often a feeling, subtle or strong, gentle or intense. Emotions rise like tides within the mind, coloring perception, guiding decisions, and sometimes whispering signals long before conscious awareness catches up. Tonight, we slowly explore the hidden science behind emotions, discovering that what feels mysterious and personal is also beautifully biological. Deep within the brain's inner landscape lies a collection of interconnected structures known as the limbic system. Among them is the amygdala, small and almond-shaped, quietly scanning your environment for significance. The amygdala does not think in words. It responds to patterns, facial expressions, tones of voice, sudden movements. When something appears important, especially if it relates to safety or reward, the amygdala activates quickly, sometimes even before the thinking part of the brain fully processes what is happening. This rapid response system evolved long ago to protect our ancestors. If a rustle in the grass signaled danger, hesitation could mean survival or harm. Even today, your emotional brain moves faster than conscious reasoning. But emotions are not only about fear or survival. They are intricate blends of chemistry and electricity that involve multiple regions working together. The prefrontal cortex, located behind your forehead, helps interpret and regulate emotional responses. It asks gentle questions. Is this threat real? Is this feeling helpful? Should I respond or simply observe? Meanwhile, the insula monitors the internal state of your body, heart rate, breath, subtle shifts in tension, contributing to the physical sensation of emotion. When you feel nervous, your heart may beat faster. When you feel calm, your muscles soften. Emotion is not confined to the brain alone. It echoes through the body like a quiet vibration. Chemical messengers also shape emotional experience. Dopamine can bring feelings of anticipation and motivation. Serotonin contributes to mood balance and a sense of stability. Oxytocin, sometimes called the bonding hormone, strengthens feelings of trust and connection. Cortisol rises during stress, preparing the body for action. These substances flow through neural pathways like gentle currents, influencing how intensely emotions are felt and how long they linger. Yet none of these chemicals act in isolation. They interact in delicate balance, forming the emotional climate of your inner world. Interestingly, emotions often begin as bodily sensations before becoming conscious feelings. A slight tightening in the chest, a warmth spreading through the face, a subtle shift in breathing. These physical cues are interpreted by the brain and labeled as emotions. The mind constantly predicts what sensations mean based on past experience. If your heart races during excitement and during fear, context determines how that sensation is interpreted. This predictive process means emotions are not simply reactions. They are constructed experiences shaped by memory and expectation. There is something deeply comforting in realizing that emotions are not random storms. They follow patterns, influenced by neural circuits that have developed over millions of years. Joy encourages exploration and connection. Sadness invites reflection and rest. Anger mobilizes energy to address obstacles. Even anxiety, though uncomfortable, evolved to sharpen attention when uncertainty arises. Each emotion carries information, like a messenger arriving quietly at your door. The challenge is not to silence these messengers, but to understand them. Sleep and rest play a vital role in emotional balance. During certain sleep stages, especially REM sleep, the brain processes emotional memories, gently reducing their intensity over time. It is as if the mind revisits difficult moments in a safe, dreamlike state, allowing feelings to soften. This may explain why problems sometimes feel less overwhelming after a full night's rest. The brain has quietly reorganized emotional networks, integrating experience with calm. Emotional regulation is also shaped by practice. Through repeated reflection, mindfulness, or supportive conversations, neural pathways between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala can strengthen. This means the thinking brain becomes better at calming emotional surges. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt, allows emotional responses to become more balanced over time. Just as a musician refines skill through repetition, the mind refines emotional harmony through awareness. It is fascinating to remember that emotions are universal, yet uniquely experienced. Across cultures, certain facial expressions are recognized similarly: smiles, frowns, widened eyes. This suggests that the neural architecture of emotion is shared among humans. And yet, Personal history shapes how each individual feels and interprets these states. Two people may experience the same event, but their emotional responses differ based on memory, belief, and context. In this way, emotion becomes both biological and deeply personal. As you relax tonight, you might gently observe any emotions present without trying to change them. Notice how they feel in the body. Notice how they shift naturally when given space. Emotions rise, crest, and fall like waves. They are dynamic patterns of neural activity, influenced by chemistry, shaped by experience, and guided by ancient evolutionary systems designed to protect and connect you. The hidden language of emotions is not something to fear. It is a quiet conversation between brain and body, a flowing dialogue that helps you navigate the world. Beneath every feeling lies a network of neurons working together in astonishing coordination. And as we continue this peaceful exploration of the mind, we begin to see that emotions are not interruptions to thought. They are essential threads woven into the very fabric of consciousness, gently guiding the story of who you are. As the world outside grows quiet and the lights begin to dim, something extraordinary unfolds within you. Your body relaxes, your breathing slows, and your eyes close. Yet inside your mind, a different kind of awakening begins. Images flicker. Scenes form. Impossible landscapes stretch into view. You may find yourself walking through a childhood home that gently transforms into a distant mountain range, or speaking to someone who feels real, though they are only woven from memory. Dreams feel mysterious, sometimes surreal, sometimes tender. But behind their soft strangeness lies a deeply scientific process, a nighttime theater directed by the sleeping brain. Sleep unfolds in gentle cycles, moving through distinct stages that repeat throughout the night. In the early stages, brain activity begins to slow. Muscles soften. Thoughts drift more loosely. As you enter deeper sleep, slow brain waves roll through the cortex like calm ocean swells. This stage is restorative, allowing the body to repair tissues and the brain to conserve energy. But then, about 90 minutes after you fall asleep, something remarkable happens. The brain shifts into a state known as REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, where brain activity becomes surprisingly vivid, almost resembling wakefulness. During REM sleep, certain regions of the brain become highly active. The visual cortex lights up, contributing to the rich imagery of dreams. The limbic system, including the amygdala, also becomes active, which may explain why dreams often carry strong emotions. Yet the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for logical reasoning and self-control, becomes less active. This imbalance creates a fascinating effect: intense emotion and imagery without strict logical structure. That is why dreams can feel deeply meaningful while also bending the rules of reality. Scientists believe dreams may serve multiple purposes. One theory suggests that dreaming helps process emotional experiences. During REM sleep, the brain replays fragments of recent memories, integrating them with older networks. Emotional intensity may be softened in the process. Imagine your mind gently untangling threads from the day, weaving them into the broader tapestry of your life. This could explain why difficult experiences sometimes feel less overwhelming after sleep. The brain has quietly reorganized emotional patterns beneath awareness. Another theory proposes that dreaming supports creativity. When the brain is freed from the constraints of logical control, distant neural networks can connect in unusual ways. Ideas that would not typically meet during waking hours may blend together. Many artists, scientists, and thinkers have described gaining insight from dreams. In this sense, dreaming becomes a laboratory of imagination, where the mind experiments without limitation. There is also evidence that dreams contribute to memory consolidation. The hippocampus, which helps form new memories, interacts with the cortex during sleep, replaying experiences from the day. These reactivations strengthen certain neural pathways, helping stabilize long-term memory. It is as if the brain reviews important scenes from a film, deciding which to archive for future reference. Even when dreams feel fragmented or forgotten upon waking, the underlying neural work continues quietly. Interestingly, while the brain becomes highly active during REM sleep, the body enters a state of temporary paralysis known as REM atonia. This prevents you from physically acting out your dreams. The brainstem sends signals that inhibit major muscle groups, ensuring safety. It is a delicate balance, a vivid mental world unfolding within a still and resting body. The contrast is almost poetic, movement in imagination, stillness in reality. Not all dreams occur during REM sleep. In earlier stages, simpler and less vivid dreamlike experiences can also arise. These may feel more like drifting thoughts than immersive stories. Throughout the night, your brain cycles between these stages, creating layers of mental activity that remain mostly hidden from conscious awareness. Lucid dreaming offers another fascinating glimpse into the mind's complexity. In rare moments, a person may become aware that they are dreaming while still within the dream. Brain imaging suggests that during lucid dreams, parts of the prefrontal cortex become more active again, restoring a degree of self-awareness. This blending of consciousness and dreaming reveals that awareness itself exists on a spectrum, not simply on or off, but shifting in subtle degrees. As you settle into sleep each night, you enter this intricate choreography of neural activity. Your brain becomes both storyteller and stage designer, crafting scenes from memory, emotion, and imagination. And though you may not remember every dream, the silent work of integration continues. Connections are refined, emotions are processed, creativity stirs gently beneath the surface. There is something profoundly comforting about knowing that even in your most restful state, your mind remains active in ways that support healing and growth. Dreams remind us that consciousness is not a single steady flame, but a flickering interplay of networks that change across time. The sleeping brain is not idle. It is quietly rehearsing, reorganizing, and restoring. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, imagine your mind preparing its theater of night. Curtains rise on landscapes shaped by memory. Characters emerge from fragments of experience. Emotions shimmer softly in symbolic forms. Beneath it all, billions of neurons fire in coordinated patterns, creating a world that exists only within you. And as each dream scene fades into morning light, the brain carries forward what it needs, gently shaping the story of your waking life. There is a quiet spotlight inside your mind, gently illuminating one experience at a time. Right now, it may be resting on these words, softly filtering out distant sounds, subtle movements, or drifting thoughts. This spotlight is your attention, a delicate yet powerful system that determines what enters awareness and what remains in the background. Though it feels effortless, attention is one of the most complex processes the brain performs. It is the art of selecting a single thread from an endless tapestry of sensory information. At every moment, your senses gather vast amounts of data. Light enters your eyes. Sound vibrations touch your ears. Your skin detects temperature, texture, and pressure. Internally, your body sends signals about heartbeat, breathing, and posture. If your brain attempted to process all of this equally, it would feel overwhelming. Instead, specialized neural networks help prioritize certain inputs while suppressing others. This filtering allows you to focus on what matters most in a given moment. The parietal cortex plays a key role in directing attention towards specific locations or objects. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex helps maintain focus on tasks and goals. Together, these regions form part of what scientists call the attentional control network. When you intentionally concentrate, reading, listening, solving a puzzle, this network becomes more active. Neurons synchronize in patterns that enhance relevant signals and quiet distractions. It is like adjusting the brightness of a single star while dimming the surrounding sky. Yet attention is not fixed. It shifts naturally. Even during focused tasks, the mind occasionally drifts. This wandering state is supported by the default mode network, which becomes active when attention turns inward. During mind wandering, you may replay memories, imagine conversations, or drift into creative ideas. Though sometimes seen as distraction, this state is not useless. Research suggests that mind wandering supports problem solving, planning, and self-reflection. It allows distant neural regions to communicate freely, generating new associations. There is a rhythm between focus and wandering, like breathing in and out. Sustained attention requires energy. The brain consumes more glucose when concentrating intensely. Over time, mental fatigue sets in, and the spotlight of attention dims slightly. This is why breaks feel refreshing. When you rest your focus, the brain rebalances activity between networks. The wandering mind gently restores flexibility before attention narrows again. Interestingly, attention can be captured both voluntarily and involuntarily. A sudden loud noise activates the brain's alerting system, drawing focus instantly. This bottom-up attention evolved for survival, allowing quick reactions to potential danger. In contrast, top-down attention is guided by intention, choosing to read, listen, or observe carefully. Both systems interact continuously. Even as you choose to focus, unexpected stimuli can momentarily pull awareness away. Modern environments challenge this balance. Notifications, bright screens, and constant information streams stimulate the brain's novelty-seeking circuits. Dopamine, associated with reward and anticipation, rises when new stimuli appear. This makes shifting attention feel satisfying, but it can fragment sustained focus. Understanding this biology allows gentleness rather than self-criticism. The mind is not weak. It is responsive to stimulation. Meditation and mindfulness practices have been shown to influence attentional networks. Brain imaging studies suggest that regular practice can strengthen connections between the prefrontal cortex and other regulatory regions. This may improve the ability to sustain focus and notice distractions without becoming carried away by them. In essence, attention can be trained. Just as muscles strengthen with repeated use, neural circuits supporting focus become more efficient over time. The wandering mind also plays a role in creativity. When attention relaxes, distant neural pathways may connect in unexpected ways. Many insights arise not during intense focus, but during quiet moments, walking, resting, or daydreaming. In these states, the brain explores possibilities beyond immediate tasks. It is as if the spotlight softens, allowing the entire stage to glow faintly. As you relax now, notice how attention gently moves. Perhaps it rests on the sound of your breathing. Perhaps it drifts briefly toward a memory before returning. This movement is natural. There is no need to force stillness. The brain's networks are designed for dynamic balance, shifting between concentrated focus and open awareness. Even in sleep, attention does not disappear entirely. Certain brain regions remain sensitive to important sounds, such as a familiar voice or an alarm. The mind maintains a subtle watchfulness, ensuring safety while allowing rest. This delicate balance between awareness and relaxation reflects the brain's remarkable adaptability. Understanding attention reveals something comforting. You are not required to control every thought. Focus can be guided gently, like steering a boat across calm water. When distraction arises, neural circuits have simply shifted activity. With practice and patience, the spotlight can return to where you choose. Inside your mind, billions of neurons coordinate this continuous dance of focus and wandering. Signals amplify, fade, and reconfigure in elegant patterns. The spotlight glows, dims, and brightens again. And through this ever-shifting process, your experience of reality unfolds, one illuminated moment at a time. Beneath your waking thoughts, beneath the steady rhythm of attention and the gentle movement of emotion, there exists a vast and quiet realm that rarely announces itself directly. It does not speak in clear sentences, nor does it wait for permission to act. Yet it influences your decisions, shapes your habits, and guides your reactions in ways so subtle that you may never notice. This hidden layer of mental life is often called the subconscious, a silent system working faithfully in the background, like unseen currents beneath the surface of a calm sea. When you walk into a room and instantly sense the mood, when you drive a familiar road without consciously thinking about each turn, when a sudden feeling nudges you toward caution or comfort, the subconscious is gently at work. Long before conscious awareness analyzes details, your brain has already processed patterns. The visual system identifies shapes and movement in milliseconds. The auditory cortex detects tone and rhythm. The amygdala scans for emotional significance. These processes occur automatically, without effort, forming impressions that influence conscious thought. Scientists estimate that the brain processes millions of bits of sensory information each second, yet only a tiny fraction enters awareness. The subconscious acts as a gatekeeper, filtering and organizing this immense stream of data. It recognizes familiar faces, predicts likely outcomes, and even completes sentences before they are fully spoken. This predictive ability arises from past experiences stored in neural networks. The brain constantly compares new input with old patterns, allowing quick judgments that feel intuitive. Habits provide a clear example of subconscious power. When you first learn a skill, tying your shoes, typing on a keyboard, riding a bicycle, the prefrontal cortex is highly engaged. Each movement requires attention, but with repetition, control gradually shifts to deeper brain structures like the basal ganglia. The action becomes automatic. You no longer narrate each step, the body simply performs. This shift frees conscious attention for other tasks. In a way, the subconscious is an efficiency expert, transforming repeated behaviors into smooth routines. Emotional responses also often begin subconsciously. A certain scent may evoke nostalgia before you identify why. A subtle facial expression may create trust or discomfort without conscious reasoning. These reactions stem from learned associations encoded in neural pathways. Over time, repeated experiences strengthen specific connections, allowing rapid emotional interpretation. The subconscious stores not just facts, but patterns of feeling. Even decision-making involves hidden processes. Studies using brain imaging have shown that neural activity predicting a choice can appear seconds before a person becomes aware of deciding. This does not mean free will is an illusion, but it suggests that conscious awareness often receives information after initial processing has begun. The subconscious gathers evidence, weighs possibilities, and then presents a conclusion to the conscious mind. It is as though a quiet committee deliberates behind closed doors before announcing its decision. Dreams offer another window into subconscious life. During sleep, when conscious control softens, deeper memories and emotions can surface in symbolic form. The brain weaves fragments of experience into imaginative stories, revealing connections that may not be obvious while awake. Though dreams can feel strange, they reflect the brain's ongoing effort to integrate memory and emotion beneath awareness. Language itself reveals subconscious influence. When you speak, complex grammatical structures emerge effortlessly. You rarely pause to calculate verb tenses or syntax. Neural circuits in language centers such as Broca's and Wernicke's areas coordinate automatically, allowing fluid communication. Beneath each sentence lies a vast network of learned rules operating silently. There is something deeply reassuring about this hidden support system. Your heart beats without instruction. Your lungs breathe during sleep. Your subconscious mind maintains balance, posture, and countless routines without demanding attention. It protects and guides you quietly, freeing consciousness for reflection and creativity. Yet the subconscious can also hold outdated patterns. If certain thoughts or fears repeat frequently, neural pathways strengthen, making those reactions more automatic. Fortunately, neuroplasticity offers hope. Through repeated new experiences, supportive relationships, and mindful awareness, subconscious patterns can gradually reshape. The brain remains adaptable throughout life, allowing fresh connections to form. As you relax tonight, imagine your subconscious as a vast library beneath a softly lit hall. Shelves extend endlessly, storing impressions from every day you have lived. Librarians move quietly, filing away details, retrieving memories when needed, organizing information without applause. Above, in the brightly lit room of consciousness, you read only one page at a time. But below, the full collection hums with silent activity. The power of the subconscious is not something to fear. It is a companion shaped by evolution, designed to help you navigate complexity with ease. Beneath each deliberate thought lies a foundation of automatic processes supporting it. Beneath each conscious decision lies a history of learned patterns guiding it. In this gentle understanding, you may find calm. You are not alone inside your own mind. A quiet intelligence works continuously beneath awareness, steady, and patient. And as we continue exploring the sleepy science of the mind, we begin to see that what feels mysterious is often simply hidden, not absent, but quietly shaping the story of who you are from the shadows of awareness. There is a magical space inside your mind where reality and possibility quietly meet. It is a place where impossible worlds can form, where colors may feel brighter than anything seen in daylight, and where ideas can merge in ways that logic alone cannot explain. This is the world of creativity and imagination, not as a fantasy, but as a real neurological process happening inside your brain every single day. Even when you are resting, even when you are relaxing in silence, your brain is quietly creating, experimenting, and connecting ideas like a hidden artist working in soft moonlight. Creativity is not limited to artists or musicians. It is a universal human ability that helps with problem solving, emotional understanding, survival, and innovation. Scientists have discovered that creativity happens when different brain networks work together in unusual combinations. Normally, the brain separates logical thinking from imaginative thinking, but during creative moments, these boundaries become flexible. It is like opening doors between different rooms of the mind and allowing ideas to walk freely from one space to another. One of the most important brain regions involved in creativity is the prefrontal cortex. This area helps organize ideas, evaluate possibilities, and choose useful solutions. But creativity also requires something else: the ability to temporarily ignore rigid rules. This is where the brain's default mode network becomes important. This network becomes active during daydreaming, relaxation, and mind wandering. While it may seem like doing nothing, the brain is actually exploring possibilities, replaying memories, and testing new combinations of experiences. Have you ever noticed that great ideas often appear when you are not trying too hard? Perhaps in the shower, during a quiet walk, or right before falling asleep. This is not coincidence. When the mind relaxes, mental barriers soften, allowing distant neural networks to communicate more freely. This phenomenon is sometimes called the incubation effect. The brain continues working on problems subconsciously even when you are not actively thinking about them. Then suddenly, an idea appears like a soft light turning on in a dark room. Imagination works by reassembling memories into new patterns. When you imagine a dragon, for example, your brain is not creating something completely new from nothing. Instead, it combines elements of past experiences, perhaps the shape of a lizard, the movement of fire, or the memory of wings seen in birds. These fragments are blended together into a new mental image. Creativity is therefore not about inventing reality from zero, but about rearranging existing knowledge into fresh structures. Neuroscientists have found that creative people often show stronger communication between brain hemispheres. The left hemisphere is often associated with language and analytical thinking, while the right hemisphere is often associated with visual and emotional processing. During creative thought, these systems cooperate more closely. Ideas become richer when logic and emotion work together rather than competing. There is also an emotional side to creativity. Positive emotions such as curiosity and excitement tend to enhance creative thinking. When you feel safe and relaxed, your brain is more willing to explore unusual ideas. Stress and fear, on the other hand, can narrow attention and reduce flexibility in thinking. This is why many creative environments encourage comfort, music, or peaceful surroundings. The brain creates best when it feels protected. Sleep also plays an important role in creativity. During REM sleep, the brain can connect ideas that might seem unrelated while awake. This is why many people wake up with solutions to problems they were struggling with the night before. During sleep, neural networks reorganize information, strengthening useful connections and weakening unnecessary ones. It is as if the brain is quietly editing and improving its own thoughts. There is something beautifully human about imagination. It allows you to simulate future experiences before they happen. When you imagine a future conversation, your brain activates similar regions as if you were actually experiencing it. This mental simulation helps prepare emotional and social responses. In this way, imagination is not just art, it is survival intelligence. Children often display stronger imaginative freedom because their brains are still highly flexible. As people grow older, knowledge and experience build useful structure, but sometimes also create mental boundaries. However, creativity can be practiced and strengthened at any age. Trying new experiences, learning new skills, and exposing the brain to unfamiliar ideas can stimulate creative growth. The brain is always capable of forming new connections. As you relax now, imagine your thoughts as soft glowing sparks floating gently in dark space. Some sparks combine and create new patterns. Some fade quietly. Some suddenly grow brighter and form shapes of meaning. Creativity is not loud. It is subtle, flowing like a peaceful river carrying ideas from one part of the mind to another. The science of creativity teaches us something comforting. Your mind is not a fixed machine. It is a living system capable of endless adaptation. Every new experience you have adds another color to your inner world. Every idea you imagine leaves a small imprint on your neural landscape. And as we continue this sleepy journey into the science of the mind, remember that creativity is always present within you, waiting patiently like a quiet dream, ready to bloom whenever your mind allows itself to wander freely through the endless possibilities of thought. There is a quiet battle that happens inside the body and mind every day, a balance between tension and relaxation, between survival and safety. Stress is not always a bad thing. In small doses, it can sharpen focus, improve performance, and help you react quickly to challenges. But when stress becomes constant, it can feel like carrying a heavy, invisible weight. Tonight, we gently explore how stress and calm coexist inside your body, like two forces slowly dancing around each other in harmony. Stress begins when the brain detects danger or uncertainty. The amygdala, the brain's emotional alarm system, sends signals to activate the body's survival response. This triggers the release of stress hormones that prepare the body for action. Your heart begins to beat faster. Breathing becomes shallow and quick. Muscles tighten slightly, ready for movement. This response is often called the fight or flight reaction. It evolved long ago to help humans survive threats in the natural world. If danger approached, quick reactions could mean safety. Inside the brain, the hypothalamus acts like a control center for stress response. When danger is perceived, it communicates with the pituitary gland and adrenal glands, forming what scientists call the stress hormone pathway. This system releases cortisol and adrenaline into the bloodstream. Adrenaline increases energy and alertness. Cortisol increases glucose availability, giving muscles and brain cells extra fuel. In ancient environments, this response helped humans escape predators or respond to emergencies. However, modern life presents different kinds of stress. Instead of physical threats, stress often comes from deadlines, social pressures, uncertainty, or emotional challenges. The brain still reacts in the same biological way, even if the danger is not physical. This can sometimes cause prolonged stress activation, which may feel mentally exhausting. Chronic stress can affect memory, mood, and physical health. High cortisol levels over long periods can interfere with hippocampal function, making it harder to form or retrieve memories clearly. Stress can also disrupt sleep cycles, making the mind feel less rested. This is why relaxation is not simply comfort, it is biological restoration. The good news is that the brain also has powerful systems for calming itself. The parasympathetic nervous system acts as a counterbalance to stress responses. If stress is like accelerating a car, the parasympathetic system is like gently applying the brakes. It slows heart rate, deepens breathing, and relaxes muscles. This state is often called rest and digest mode because the body shifts energy toward healing and recovery. Breathing plays an especially important role in calming the nervous system. Slow, deep breathing sends signals to the brain that the environment is safe. When breathing becomes slower, the brain reduces stress hormone production. This is because the brain constantly monitors body signals to determine whether danger is present. If breathing is calm, the brain often assumes safety. Mindfulness practices take advantage of this biological connection. By gently observing thoughts and breathing without judgment, people can reduce stress reactivity. This does not mean suppressing emotions. Instead, it means allowing feelings to pass through awareness like clouds moving across the sky. Over time, mindfulness can strengthen neural pathways that help regulate emotional responses. Sleep is another powerful stress regulator. During sleep, especially deep sleep, the brain reduces emotional intensity and repairs neural connections. Without adequate sleep, the brain becomes more sensitive to stress triggers. This can make small problems feel larger than they are. Rest allows emotional circuits to reset, restoring balance. There is also an interesting relationship between stress and perception. When stressed, the brain tends to focus on potential threats more strongly. This was useful in survival situations but can sometimes cause overthinking in modern life. Stress can narrow attention, making the mind focus on problems while ignoring positive or neutral information. Relaxation, on the other hand, broadens perception and allows more balanced thinking. Social connection is one of the strongest natural stress relievers. Human brains evolved to rely on group safety and cooperation. Positive social interactions can increase oxytocin levels, promoting feelings of safety and trust. Talking with someone supportive can help the brain process stress more effectively because emotions are often regulated through communication and shared understanding. Nature also has a calming effect on the brain. Soft natural sounds, gentle visual patterns, and open spaces can reduce mental tension. Scientists believe this may be related to evolutionary history. Humans lived in natural environments for most of their existence, and the brain may still respond positively to natural stimuli. As you relax and listen to this slow exploration of science, notice how your body feels. Perhaps your shoulders loosen slightly. Perhaps your breathing slows without effort. Your brain is constantly seeking balance between alertness and relaxation. It is not trying to keep you stressed. It is trying to keep you alive, safe, and adaptable. Stress and calm are not enemies. They are complementary forces helping you navigate a complex world. Stress prepares you for action. Calm allows you to recover and think clearly. The healthiest minds move gently between these states, like waves moving forward and backward along a quiet shoreline. And as we continue this peaceful journey through the science of the mind, we begin to see that even stress carries meaning. It is information, not weakness. It is a signal, not a failure. And within that understanding, there is comfort, knowing that your brain is always working to bring you back toward balance, rest, and quiet inner peace. There is perhaps no greater mystery inside the human experience than consciousness itself. You can feel your thoughts. You can observe your emotions. You can sense that you are present in this moment, aware of your surroundings and of your own existence. But how does awareness arise from a network of biological cells? How does electrical activity in the brain transform into the feeling of being alive? Scientists have studied this question for centuries, yet consciousness remains one of the deepest puzzles of science. Tonight, we gently explore this mystery, not with pressure or complexity, but with curiosity and calm wonder. Consciousness can be described as the experience of being aware of both the external world and your internal mental world. When you see colors, hear sounds, feel emotions, or think about memories, consciousness is what allows you to experience these events as something personal. Without consciousness, the brain would still process information, but there would be no subjective experience attached to it. It would be like a camera recording images without anyone ever watching the footage. Neuroscientists believe consciousness is linked to large-scale communication between different brain regions. Instead of being located in one single area, consciousness appears to emerge when multiple networks synchronize activity. The thalamus acts like a relay station, sending sensory information to the cortex. Meanwhile, higher cognitive regions integrate this information into a unified experience. This coordination allows you to experience the world as one continuous reality rather than separate fragments of sensation. One interesting theory about consciousness is called integrated information theory. This theory suggests that consciousness arises when information within a system becomes highly interconnected. In the brain, billions of neurons do not work independently. They work together in complex patterns. When these patterns become highly integrated, awareness may emerge naturally from the system itself. In this view, consciousness is not something added to the brain. It is something that arises from the brain's complexity. Another theory suggests that consciousness may be related to neural synchronization. When groups of neurons fire in rhythmic patterns, they may create coherent experiences of perception and thought. Scientists have observed brain wave patterns associated with different states of awareness. During deep sleep, brain waves slow down. During focused thinking, faster brain waves appear. During meditation, brain activity can shift toward more balanced and stable patterns. Despite these discoveries, scientists still do not fully understand why subjective experience exists at all. This is known as the hard problem of consciousness. It is not just about how the brain processes information, but why processing information feels like something from the inside. Why does seeing a sunset feel beautiful rather than just being a collection of wavelengths of light? Why does pain feel painful instead of simply being a signal? These questions remain open and deeply fascinating. Consciousness also changes across different states of awareness. When you are awake and alert, your brain maintains strong communication between different regions. During dreaming, consciousness becomes more imaginative and less logically constrained. During deep sleep, awareness seems to fade almost completely, yet the brain continues to function beneath the surface. This suggests that consciousness is not a fixed state but a dynamic spectrum that shifts throughout the day and night. Meditation offers another fascinating insight into consciousness. During meditation, people often report feeling more present and less attached to wandering thoughts. Brain imaging studies show that meditation can change activity in regions associated with self-referential thinking. This may reduce the constant internal narration that many people experience. Instead of being lost in thoughts about past or future, awareness remains anchored in the present moment. There is also the question of self-awareness, the ability to recognize yourself as an individual separate from the environment. Self-awareness involves specialized brain networks that help construct your sense of identity. Your memories, experiences, beliefs, and emotional patterns all contribute to this inner sense of self. Yet this identity is not fixed. It evolves as you learn, grow, and experience new things. Interestingly, consciousness may also have evolutionary roots. Awareness allows humans to simulate future scenarios mentally. Instead of acting purely on instinct, humans can imagine possible outcomes before making decisions. This ability improved survival and helped build complex social relationships. Consciousness is not just philosophical. It is practical intelligence shaped by survival needs. As you relax and think about consciousness tonight, notice how awareness feels. You do not need to search for it. It is already present. It is the experience of reading these words. It is the quiet recognition that you are thinking. Consciousness is both simple and infinite. It is simple because it is always present. It is infinite because it contains endless possibilities of thought and experience. And as we continue this sleepy journey into the science of the mind, we begin to see that consciousness may not be something we fully control or completely understand. Instead, it may be something we gently inhabit, like living inside a soft, living dream that never truly turns off, always observing, always feeling, always quietly existing within the mystery of being alive. As the night grows softer and your mind begins to settle into calm rhythms, you may notice how much of your life moves automatically. You breathe without thinking. You walk without calculating each step. You may even perform complex tasks while your mind drifts somewhere else. These automatic behaviors are not signs of laziness in the brain. They are signs of incredible efficiency. Tonight, we explore the science of habits, those invisible programs quietly running in the background of your life like soft music playing beneath conversation. Habits form because the brain loves efficiency. Thinking deeply about every small action would consume enormous energy. To save resources, the brain transforms repeated behaviors into automatic routines. This process primarily involves the basal ganglia, a group of brain structures that help control movement, decision-making patterns, and reward-based learning. When you repeat an action many times, neural pathways become stronger, like walking along the same path in a forest until the grass is flattened and the trail becomes easy to follow. Every habit begins with a simple loop consisting of three parts: a cue, a routine, and a reward. The cue is a trigger that starts the behavior. It could be a time of day, an emotional state, or an environmental signal. The routine is the behavior itself. The reward is what your brain receives after completing the action. Rewards are especially powerful because they release dopamine, a chemical associated with pleasure and motivation. When the brain anticipates reward, it encourages the behavior to repeat. Over time, the brain starts associating cues with rewards even before the routine is completed. This is why habits can feel automatic. You may not consciously decide to perform them. Instead, your brain begins preparing the behavior before you even notice. It is like a quiet alarm clock inside your mind, gently reminding you what to do next. Not all habits are physical. Thinking patterns can also become habits. If a person repeatedly worries about certain outcomes, the brain may strengthen neural circuits associated with anxiety. Similarly, positive thinking patterns can also become automatic through repetition. The brain does not judge habits as good or bad. It simply strengthens what is practiced most frequently. This means change is possible, but it requires patience and consistency rather than sudden effort. Breaking a habit is often more difficult than creating one because the brain resists change. When a habit becomes deeply wired, the brain begins to rely on it as an energy-saving shortcut. To break a habit, it is often more effective to replace it rather than simply stop it. For example, replacing stress eating with deep breathing or short walks gives the brain a new routine while still satisfying the need for reward or comfort. Sleep also plays an important role in habit formation. During sleep, the brain reviews patterns of activity from the day. It strengthens useful connections and weakens unnecessary ones. This is one reason repetition over multiple days is more effective than intense effort in a single day. Habits grow slowly but become powerful over time, like roots spreading quietly beneath the soil. Social environment strongly influences habits as well. Humans naturally imitate behaviors they observe in others. This is partly due to mirror neuron systems in the brain, which activate both when performing an action and when observing someone else perform it. This ability helped humans learn social skills, language, and survival behaviors throughout evolution. Today, it also explains how social groups shape lifestyle habits. Interestingly, habits are not only about behavior, they also shape identity. When you repeatedly act in certain ways, your brain begins to associate those behaviors with who you are. You may think of yourself as organized, creative, disciplined, or relaxed based on repeated patterns of action. In this way, habits are not just routines. They are building blocks of personality. The good news is that the brain remains adaptable throughout life. Neuroplasticity allows new habits to form at any age. The process may be slower in adulthood, but it is never impossible. The key is consistency rather than perfection. Even small repeated actions can slowly reshape neural pathways. As you relax tonight, imagine your habits as quiet workers inside your mind. They follow schedules. They perform tasks. They help conserve your mental energy so you can focus on new experiences, creativity, and emotional connection. Some habits serve you well. Others may need gentle rewriting. But change does not require force. It requires time, repetition, and patience. And as we continue this sleepy journey through the science of the mind, we begin to understand that habits are not chains controlling your behavior. They are tools your brain uses to simplify life. By becoming aware of them, you gain the ability to gently guide them, like adjusting the direction of a slow-moving river rather than fighting against its natural flow. Inside your mind, there is often a quiet voice speaking without sound. It narrates experiences, asks questions, remembers the past, and imagines the future. You may not always notice it, but internal language shapes how you understand the world. This inner voice is called inner speech, the silent language of thought that helps you reason, plan, and reflect. Tonight, we gently explore the science of language inside the mind, where words are not spoken but still deeply felt. Language is one of the most powerful abilities the human brain has developed. It allows you to share ideas, build societies, express emotions, and preserve knowledge across generations. But before language became spoken communication, it likely began as simple symbolic thinking. Early humans may have used gestures, facial expressions, and sounds to communicate meaning before structured grammar evolved. Over thousands of years, language systems became more complex, allowing humans to express abstract concepts like time, morality, and imagination. Inside the brain, language processing relies on specialized regions. One important area is responsible for understanding language, while another helps produce speech. When you read or listen to words, your brain converts symbols or sounds into meaning almost instantly. This process is so fast that you rarely notice it happening. Your brain is constantly predicting what words might come next based on context, experience, and memory. Inner speech is closely linked to self-reflection. When you solve problems mentally, you may silently talk yourself through steps. This helps organize thoughts into logical sequences. Scientists believe inner speech develops during childhood as children learn to talk out loud before gradually internalizing language. Over time, external speech becomes internal dialogue. Interestingly, inner speech can influence emotions. The way you talk to yourself inside your mind can shape how you feel. Supportive inner dialogue can reduce stress and improve confidence. Critical inner voices, however, can sometimes increase anxiety. This does not mean inner speech is harmful. Instead, it means the brain is using language as a tool for self-regulation. With awareness, people can reshape inner dialogue into more supportive and calming patterns. Dreams sometimes include language as well. During dreaming, conversations may occur inside dream narratives. These dream dialogues often reflect emotional concerns, memories, or social experiences. However, during deep sleep stages, language centers become less active. This is why dreams sometimes feel more visual and emotional rather than logically structured. Reading is another fascinating example of how the brain adapts to modern human culture. The brain did not originally evolve for reading, yet it has developed remarkable ability to recognize written symbols. When you read, visual information is converted into language meaning through coordinated activity between visual and language regions. This process happens in fractions of a second, allowing you to experience stories as if they were unfolding directly inside your mind. There is also a strong relationship between language and thought. Some scientists believe language shapes how people perceive reality. Different languages may organize concepts like time, direction, or social relationships in unique ways. However, thought is not fully dependent on language. Humans can experience emotions, images, and sensations even without words. Language simply provides structure and clarity. Children learning language provide insight into how the brain builds communication systems. Children learn language through exposure, repetition, and social interaction. The brain is especially flexible during early development, making it easier to absorb new languages. Adults can still learn new languages, but it may require more practice because neural circuits are less plastic than during childhood. Still, learning new languages can improve cognitive flexibility and memory performance. Language is also closely connected to social bonding. Conversations activate reward circuits in the brain. Sharing stories, jokes, and experiences strengthens social connections. Humans are naturally social creatures, and language evolved partly to support cooperation and community building. As you relax tonight, notice your inner voice gently speaking in the background of awareness. It may comment on what you are reading. It may wander into memories or future plans, but you do not need to control it. Like other brain processes, inner speech flows naturally. The science of language reveals something beautiful. Words are not just tools for communication. They are tools for thinking itself. Without language, complex reasoning would be much more difficult. With language, humans can create science, literature, philosophy, and art. Language is both practical and poetic. And as we continue this peaceful journey into the science of the mind, we begin to understand that words are not only spoken to others. They are also spoken quietly inside the mind, helping shape understanding, identity, and experience, one silent sentence at a time. Learning is one of the most beautiful abilities of the human brain. Every new skill you learn, every fact you remember, every experience you survive becomes part of your inner world. Learning is not just about school or education. It is about adaptation, the brain's ability to change itself based on experience. Tonight, we gently explore how knowledge grows inside the mind, like seeds slowly turning into strong trees beneath quiet moonlight. At the heart of learning lies a powerful biological principle called neuroplasticity. This means the brain can change its structure and function based on repeated activity. When you practice something new, neurons begin forming stronger connections with each other. Imagine walking through a field. The first time you walk, the grass is tall and the path is unclear. But after walking the same route again and again, a clear trail forms. Learning works in a similar way. Repetition strengthens neural pathways, making information easier to access. Learning happens through a combination of attention, memory, and emotional engagement. Attention allows the brain to focus on important information. Memory stores that information for future use. Emotion helps determine which experiences are meaningful enough to remember. This is why experiences tied to strong feelings are often remembered more clearly. The brain prioritizes information that feels important for survival, social connection, or personal growth. There are two major types of learning. Explicit learning involves conscious effort, such as studying facts or solving math problems. Implicit learning happens automatically through experience, such as learning social behavior or physical coordination. For example, you may not consciously think about how to balance while walking, but your brain has learned this skill through practice since childhood. Repetition alone is not always enough for effective learning. The brain learns best when information is spaced over time. This is called spaced repetition. When learning is spread across multiple sessions, neural connections have time to strengthen. This is more effective than cramming large amounts of information in a short period. Sleep also plays an important role in learning because the brain consolidates knowledge during rest. During sleep, especially deep sleep, the brain reactivates patterns related to new learning experiences. This process helps transfer information from short-term storage into long-term memory networks. It is like the brain is reviewing lessons learned during the day, quietly strengthening useful knowledge while removing unnecessary details. Curiosity is one of the strongest drivers of learning. When you feel curious, the brain releases dopamine, a chemical associated with motivation and reward. Curiosity makes the brain more receptive to new information. This is why interesting stories, puzzles, and questions can make learning easier and more enjoyable. The brain is naturally designed to seek patterns, solve mysteries, and predict outcomes. Mistakes are also important for learning. When you make an error, the brain receives feedback that helps adjust future behavior. This is called error-based learning. Neural circuits compare expected outcomes with actual outcomes. If something unexpected happens, the brain updates its predictions. This constant adjustment process allows knowledge to become more accurate over time. Social learning is another powerful aspect of knowledge growth. Humans learn not only from personal experience but also by observing others. This ability allowed early humans to survive by copying successful behaviors from their community. Today, social learning helps spread knowledge across generations. Teaching, storytelling, and communication are all forms of shared brain development. Learning also shapes identity. The more you learn, the more your brain builds new ways of understanding yourself and the world. Knowledge is not stored like books on a shelf. Instead, it becomes integrated into neural networks that influence thinking, behavior, and emotional responses. Learning is therefore not just about information. It is about transformation. As you relax tonight, imagine your brain as a growing garden. Each new idea is like a small seed planted in soil. Some ideas grow quickly. Others take time to develop. Some knowledge becomes strong and stable, while other knowledge fades if it is not used. This natural selection process inside the brain ensures efficiency and adaptability. The science of learning reminds us that intelligence is not fixed. The brain continues learning throughout life. New experiences, conversations, challenges, and environments all contribute to neural growth. Even small daily learning habits can slowly reshape the brain's architecture. And as we continue this peaceful journey through the science of the mind, we begin to see that learning is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming adaptable. The mind is always growing, always adjusting, always quietly expanding like a living universe inside your head, learning from every moment of your life. Every day, you make hundreds of decisions without even realizing it. Some decisions are small: what to wear, what to eat, which song to play. Others are larger, choices that can shape your future, relationships, and life path. Yet behind every decision, there is a complex network of brain activity quietly evaluating possibilities. Decision-making is not a single moment of choice. It is a slow, invisible negotiation between logic, emotion, memory, and prediction, happening inside your mind like quiet waves meeting the shore. The prefrontal cortex plays a major role in decision-making. This region of the brain helps you plan, evaluate consequences, and control impulses. When you think carefully before acting, this area becomes more active. It weighs advantages and disadvantages, compares past experiences, and simulates future outcomes. In a way, the prefrontal cortex acts like an internal strategist, helping you navigate complex choices. However, decisions are not made by logic alone. Emotions also play a powerful role. The brain often evaluates choices using both rational analysis and emotional signals. Emotional experiences from the past help guide current decisions. If a past experience produced pain, the brain may warn you to avoid similar choices. If a past experience produced reward, the brain may encourage similar behavior. This combination of logic and emotion allows humans to make faster decisions in uncertain environments. There is a fascinating biological mechanism called reward prediction. The brain does not only respond to rewards, it also responds to expectations of reward. Dopamine levels often rise when the brain predicts something positive may happen. This motivates action. Interestingly, dopamine sometimes increases more during anticipation than during actual reward. This explains why waiting for something exciting can feel almost as powerful as experiencing it. Decision-making is also influenced by uncertainty. When outcomes are unpredictable, the brain must work harder to evaluate possibilities. Too much uncertainty can create anxiety because the brain prefers patterns and predictability. Humans evolved in environments where recognizing patterns helped with survival. Because of this, the brain constantly tries to predict what will happen next. Sleep strongly influences decision-making. When you do not get enough sleep, the brain's ability to evaluate risks becomes weaker. Studies show that sleep deprivation increases impulsive choices. This happens because emotional regions of the brain become more dominant while logical control regions become less active. Rest helps restore balance between emotional intuition and rational planning. There is also something called cognitive bias. These are mental shortcuts that help the brain make fast decisions but can sometimes lead to errors in judgment. For example, confirmation bias makes people prefer information that supports their existing beliefs. The brain uses these shortcuts because analyzing every detail would be too slow and energy-consuming. In everyday life, these shortcuts help with speed, but awareness of them can improve decision quality. Social influence also shapes decisions. Humans are social beings, and the brain often considers social acceptance when making choices. Observing other people's behavior can influence personal decisions. This is because social safety and belonging were important for survival in early human communities. Stress can affect decision-making as well. When stress hormones rise, the brain may shift toward quick, survival-focused decisions rather than long-term planning. This was useful in dangerous situations, but in modern life, it can sometimes lead to rushed decisions. Relaxation allows the brain to think more clearly and evaluate options more carefully. Interestingly, sometimes the best decisions happen when you do not think about them directly. The subconscious mind continues processing information even when you are not actively analyzing a problem. This is why people sometimes experience sudden clarity after taking a break from difficult decisions. As you relax and think about decision-making tonight, imagine your brain as a quiet council of different voices. Logic speaks slowly and carefully. Emotion speaks with passion. Memory offers past lessons. The subconscious works silently behind the scenes. Together, they help guide you toward choices that support your survival, happiness, and growth. Decision-making is not about being perfect. It is about balancing information, experience, and feeling. The brain is always learning from each decision you make, adjusting future choices based on outcomes. In this way, every choice you make becomes part of your brain's ongoing story. And as we continue this peaceful journey into the science of the mind, we begin to understand that decisions are not moments of pressure. They are natural expressions of a living, learning brain, always predicting, always evaluating, and always quietly guiding you forward through the soft currents of life. Time feels simple when you look at a clock, but inside your mind, time is something much more fluid. Sometimes minutes feel like hours. Other times, hours feel like moments. Your brain does not experience time like a machine measuring seconds. Instead, it constructs the feeling of time using memory, attention, and emotional experience. Tonight, we gently explore how your brain creates the sensation of time passing, like a quiet river flowing through consciousness. Time perception is not controlled by a single time center in the brain. Instead, it emerges from coordination between multiple regions. The basal ganglia and cerebellum help track rhythms and movement timing. The prefrontal cortex helps plan future events. Memory systems help compare past and present experiences to estimate duration. Together, these networks create your internal clock. When you are busy or focused, time often seems to pass quickly. This happens because your brain is processing information intensely. When attention is fully engaged in tasks, there is less mental space available to monitor time. This is why people often say, time flies when you are having fun. Positive emotions and engaging activities reduce awareness of time passing because the brain prioritizes experience over measurement. In contrast, when you are bored or anxious, time can feel slower. When the brain has less stimulation, it becomes more aware of passing moments. During stress or waiting situations, attention shifts toward time monitoring, making seconds feel longer. Emotional states strongly influence time perception. Fear and anticipation can stretch the feeling of time, while relaxation can compress it. Memory also shapes how you experience time. The brain judges duration partly based on how many new memories are created during an experience. If an event contains many new details, it may feel longer when remembered. If nothing unusual happens, time may feel shorter in hindsight. This explains why new experiences often feel longer than familiar routines. Sleep also affects time perception. During sleep, awareness of time disappears because sensory processing is reduced. When you wake up after deep sleep, time can feel disorienting because the brain must reconnect internal rhythms with external reality. Circadian rhythms, controlled by the hypothalamus, help regulate daily biological timing. These rhythms influence sleep, hunger, alertness, and mood. Interestingly, the brain can sometimes predict time intervals using pattern recognition rather than direct measurement. For example, musicians often develop strong internal timing because of repeated practice with rhythm and beat patterns. Repetition strengthens timing circuits, allowing more accurate perception of duration. Stress and danger can distort time perception as well. During frightening situations, the brain may enter a heightened alert state where perception becomes more detailed. Some people report that dangerous moments feel longer than they actually were. This may be because the brain increases information processing speed to improve survival chances. Philosophically, time perception also connects to consciousness. You experience life as a continuous present moment, but neuroscientists believe that consciousness may actually assemble reality slightly after events occur. The brain processes information, then constructs the feeling of now based on collected data. This means your experience of reality is always slightly behind actual physical events, though the delay is extremely small. As you relax tonight, think of time as something that flows through your mind like soft light moving across water. Sometimes it moves quickly, sometimes slowly, but your brain is always adapting, measuring, predicting, and adjusting to help you live smoothly within the rhythm of life. And as we continue this sleepy journey through the science of the mind, we begin to understand that time is not just something outside of you. It is something your brain gently creates, moment by moment, allowing you to experience life as a continuous, meaningful story unfolding in slow, peaceful motion. Humans are not meant to exist in complete isolation. Deep inside the architecture of the brain lies a powerful drive to connect with others, to communicate, to understand emotions, and to belong. Social connection is not just a cultural choice. It is a biological necessity shaped by evolution. Tonight, we explore how the brain experiences friendship, love, empathy, and social bonding, like quiet, invisible threads tying human minds together across time and space. The brain contains specialized systems dedicated to understanding other people. One of these systems involves mirror neurons, which activate both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else performing that same action. These neurons help you understand emotions, intentions, and behaviors without needing to consciously analyze them. For example, when you see someone smile, your brain may activate similar emotional pathways, allowing you to feel a small echo of their happiness. Empathy is deeply connected to social survival. Early humans survived by living in groups. Cooperation improved protection from predators, improved access to food, and helped raise children successfully. Because of this evolutionary history, the brain developed strong reward responses to positive social interactions. When you experience trust, friendship, or affection, the brain releases oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. This chemical strengthens social attachment and increases feelings of safety and comfort. Social rejection can also strongly affect the brain. Interestingly, the brain processes social pain using some of the same neural pathways as physical pain. This is why emotional rejection can feel physically painful. Social isolation triggers stress responses because historically, being excluded from a group could threaten survival. The brain treats belonging as essential for safety. Communication plays a vital role in social connection. Language allows humans to share emotions, stories, and experiences. But communication is not only about words. Tone of voice, facial expression, and body language carry powerful emotional information. The brain processes these signals rapidly to help interpret social situations. Even subtle changes in facial expression can influence emotional responses. Friendship and bonding also strengthen brain health. Positive social relationships have been linked to reduced stress, improved emotional regulation, and even better cognitive function. Social interaction stimulates multiple brain regions simultaneously, creating complex patterns of neural activity that support emotional stability and mental resilience. Loneliness, on the other hand, can affect brain and body health. Prolonged loneliness may increase stress hormones and reduce overall well-being. Humans evolved to depend on social networks, so isolation can signal danger to the brain. This does not mean solitude is harmful. Quiet alone time can be restorative. The difference lies between healthy solitude and prolonged emotional isolation. Love is one of the strongest social bonding experiences the brain can create. Romantic love activates reward pathways, emotional centers, and memory systems simultaneously. This explains why love can feel intense and overwhelming. The brain treats romantic connection as something deeply valuable for survival and reproduction. But love is not only romantic. Family love, friendship, and community bonds also activate similar neural reward systems. Social learning also depends heavily on connection. Humans learn social norms, language, and behavior by observing others. Children especially rely on social feedback to develop emotional regulation and communication skills. The brain is constantly reading social environments, predicting reactions, and adjusting behavior accordingly. As you relax tonight, imagine social connection as a soft network of light linking human minds together. Each positive interaction strengthens those connections. Each moment of kindness creates small positive changes inside the brain. Social connection is not just emotional. It is biological, neurological, and deeply human. And as we continue this peaceful journey into the science of the mind, we begin to see that humans are not isolated thinkers. We are social minds living inside social worlds, shaped by connection, empathy, and shared experience, gently moving together through the quiet rhythms of life. As time moves forward, the brain continues to change quietly and gracefully. Aging is not simply about decline. It is also about accumulation, the gathering of knowledge, emotional balance, and life experience. The aging brain is like an old forest that has grown stronger and more complex over decades, with deeper roots and richer layers of understanding. Tonight, we explore how the brain changes with age and how wisdom often grows alongside time. As people grow older, certain cognitive processes may slow slightly. Reaction times may become longer, and it may take more effort to learn completely new information quickly. This happens partly because neural processing speed decreases and some neural connections become less dense. However, other abilities often improve. Older brains often become better at emotional regulation, strategic thinking, and recognizing patterns based on past experience. The prefrontal cortex, which controls decision-making and planning, continues developing well into adulthood. This is why younger people may rely more on emotional impulses, while older adults often show more balanced decision-making. Experience helps the brain predict outcomes more accurately because it has stored many more memories to compare with current situations. Memory systems also change with age. Short-term memory may become less efficient because the hippocampus can gradually shrink slightly over time. However, long-term memory, especially memories connected to emotion and meaning, often remains strong. Many older adults can recall childhood memories vividly even if they occasionally forget recent details. Emotional significance helps protect memories from fading. Neuroplasticity does not disappear with age. The brain can still form new connections throughout life. Learning new skills, social interaction, and mental exercise help maintain brain health. Activities such as reading, learning languages, playing musical instruments, or solving puzzles can stimulate neural growth. The brain remains adaptable, though learning may require more repetition than in youth. Sleep becomes especially important as the brain ages. During sleep, the brain clears metabolic waste products through processes involving cerebrospinal fluid circulation. This biological cleaning process helps maintain neural health. Good sleep also supports memory consolidation and emotional stability. Emotional intelligence often increases with age. Older individuals may become better at understanding social situations and controlling emotional reactions. This may be because the brain learns from decades of social experience. Emotional regulation networks between the prefrontal cortex and limbic system often become more efficient. Hormonal changes also influence brain function during aging. Levels of certain hormones gradually change, which can influence mood, energy, and cognition. But lifestyle factors can strongly influence how the brain ages. Regular physical exercise, healthy diet, social engagement, and mental stimulation all contribute to healthier brain aging. There is also an interesting psychological effect known as the positivity bias in older adults. Many older people tend to focus more on positive experiences rather than negative ones. Scientists believe this may be a natural emotional regulation adaptation that helps maintain psychological well-being later in life. Wisdom is not simply knowledge. Wisdom is the ability to apply knowledge with emotional balance and perspective. Wisdom involves patience, empathy, and understanding long-term consequences. The aging brain often becomes better at seeing the bigger picture rather than focusing on immediate details. Interestingly, personality tends to stabilize as people age. While personality can still change, it often becomes more consistent. This stability may come from accumulated life experience shaping behavior patterns and self-understanding. As you relax tonight, imagine aging not as fading light, but as deepening warmth. Like sunlight slowly turning golden during sunset, the aging brain carries both memory and meaning. Every experience you live becomes part of your mental landscape, shaping who you are and how you see the world. And as we continue this sleepy journey through the science of the mind, we begin to understand that aging is not just about time passing. It is about life unfolding, knowledge growing deeper, and the mind becoming wiser and more peaceful with experience. Fear is one of the oldest survival tools inside the human brain. Long before complex language or modern civilization existed, fear helped early humans stay alive in dangerous environments. Tonight, we explore how fear is created inside the mind, not as something to avoid, but as something to understand. Fear is not always an enemy. Sometimes, fear is simply the brain trying to protect you, like an ancient guardian watching quietly from the shadows of consciousness. Fear usually begins in the amygdala, the brain's rapid danger detection center. When something unfamiliar or potentially threatening appears, the amygdala activates quickly, sometimes even before you consciously recognize what is happening. This is because speed is important for survival. If your brain waited too long to react to danger, survival chances would decrease. The amygdala acts like an early warning system, sending signals to other parts of the brain and body. When fear is triggered, the body enters the fight or flight response. The heart begins to beat faster. Breathing becomes quicker. Muscles tighten slightly. Adrenaline is released to increase energy and alertness. This biological reaction prepares the body to either confront danger or escape from it. In ancient environments, this response helped humans survive predators, natural disasters, and other threats. However, modern life sometimes triggers fear responses even when there is no physical danger. Social pressure, uncertainty, public speaking, or stressful situations can activate the same survival circuits. The brain does not always distinguish between physical danger and emotional stress. To the brain, both can feel equally important for survival. The prefrontal cortex plays an important role in controlling fear responses. This region helps evaluate whether a threat is real or imagined. It asks questions before reacting. Is this situation truly dangerous? Or is this just uncertainty? When the prefrontal cortex is strong and well-balanced, fear responses can be managed more effectively. Fear is also closely connected to memory. The brain remembers frightening experiences more strongly than neutral experiences. This is called fear conditioning. If someone experiences danger in a specific environment, the brain may associate that environment with fear in the future. This is why traumatic experiences can create long-lasting emotional memories. The brain is trying to prevent future harm by remembering past danger. Sleep is very important for processing fear. During REM sleep, emotional memories are reorganized and processed. The brain may replay emotional experiences in dreamlike forms, helping reduce fear intensity over time. This is why after a good night's sleep, emotional problems sometimes feel less overwhelming. Interestingly, fear is not always negative. Fear can improve focus, increase alertness, and improve performance in certain situations. Small amounts of fear can motivate preparation and careful planning. Problems only arise when fear becomes constant or overwhelming. Chronic fear can lead to anxiety and stress-related health problems. Humans are also influenced by learned fears. Children often learn fear responses from parents or social environments. Observational learning allows people to avoid dangers without direct personal experience. This ability helped humans survive as social communities, sharing knowledge about risks and safety. There is also something fascinating about how fear interacts with curiosity. Humans often feel both fear and curiosity at the same time. This is because the brain is designed to explore unknown environments while still maintaining safety awareness. Curiosity helps learning and survival, while fear helps caution and protection. As you relax tonight, think of fear as a natural signal system rather than something that controls you. Fear is like a warning light on a dashboard. It does not always mean something is wrong. It simply means the brain is paying attention to possible risk. Your brain is constantly balancing safety and exploration. Too much fear can limit experiences. Too little fear can create danger. Healthy minds learn to move gently between courage and caution. And as we continue this sleepy journey through the science of the mind, we begin to understand that fear is not weakness. Fear is ancient intelligence, shaped by millions of years of evolution, quietly working to keep you safe while you navigate the complexity of life. Happiness is not just an emotion, It is a complex biological process happening deep inside your brain. Sometimes happiness feels like warmth spreading through your chest. Other times it feels like quiet peace or excitement for something good. Tonight, we explore how the brain creates happiness, motivation, and reward, like a soft glow of light slowly brightening the mind. At the center of happiness lies the brain's reward system. This system is designed to encourage behaviors that support survival and well-being. When you eat food, spend time with loved ones, achieve goals, or experience pleasant moments, the brain releases dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical messenger associated with pleasure, motivation, and learning. It does not just create happiness, it creates the desire to repeat rewarding experiences. The reward system involves several important brain regions. One of the key structures is the nucleus accumbens, which processes pleasure and motivation. The ventral tegmental area produces dopamine signals. The prefrontal cortex helps evaluate rewards and make decisions about future behavior. Together, these regions create motivation cycles that encourage survival behaviors like eating, socializing, and learning. Interestingly, dopamine is more connected to anticipation than actual reward. The brain often releases dopamine when it expects something good to happen. This explains why waiting for a vacation, gift, or achievement can feel exciting. The brain enjoys prediction and expectation almost as much as the reward itself. This is why goals can be motivating even before they are achieved. Happiness is also strongly connected to social connection. Positive social interactions activate reward pathways. Laughing with friends, sharing experiences, or receiving appreciation can increase reward system activity. Humans evolved as social animals, so the brain treats social bonding as essential for survival. Exercise also influences happiness. Physical activity increases endorphin release, which can reduce pain perception and improve mood. Endorphins create what people sometimes call a runner's high, a feeling of calm energy after exercise. Exercise also improves blood flow to the brain, supporting cognitive and emotional health. Sleep plays a critical role in maintaining happiness. When sleep is insufficient, reward system sensitivity can change. This may reduce motivation and increase negative emotional sensitivity. Good sleep helps regulate mood and emotional stability. During sleep, the brain also processes emotional experiences, helping maintain psychological balance. Gratitude and positive thinking can influence brain reward pathways. When people focus on positive experiences, the brain strengthens neural circuits associated with satisfaction and well-being. This does not mean ignoring problems. It means balancing awareness of challenges with appreciation of good experiences. Interestingly, happiness is not always about constant pleasure. The brain is designed for balance. Too much constant stimulation can reduce reward sensitivity. This is called hedonic adaptation. When people become accustomed to pleasure, the brain returns to a baseline emotional state. This is why long-term happiness often comes from meaning, relationships, and purpose rather than constant excitement. The brain also values progress. Small achievements can activate reward signals. Completing small tasks can give a sense of accomplishment. This is why breaking large goals into smaller steps can improve motivation and emotional satisfaction. As you relax tonight, imagine happiness as a gentle internal light, not something you must chase, but something that quietly grows when you care for your brain, your body, and your relationships. Happiness is not only about excitement. It is also about peace, stability, and emotional harmony. And as we continue this sleepy journey into the science of the mind, we begin to see that happiness is not a destination. It is a rhythm, a quiet balance between reward, meaning, connection, and calm moments of contentment inside your mind. As we reach the final chapter of this peaceful journey, we look not backward, but forward, toward the future of the human mind. The brain is not a finished masterpiece. It is a constantly evolving system, shaped by technology, environment, culture, and experience. Tomorrow's minds may think differently, learn differently, and experience reality in ways we are only beginning to understand. Tonight, we explore what science suggests about the future of human cognition, like standing on a quiet hill and watching the sunrise of new possibilities. Technology is already beginning to extend human cognition. Devices, artificial intelligence, and digital memory systems act as external extensions of the brain. People can now store knowledge outside their minds, access information instantly, and communicate across the world in seconds. This does not replace the brain. Instead, it expands human capability. In the future, brain-computer interfaces may allow direct communication between neural activity and digital systems, potentially helping people control devices using thoughts alone. Artificial intelligence may also change how humans learn. Instead of memorizing large amounts of information, people may focus more on creativity, emotional intelligence, and complex problem-solving. The brain is naturally designed to adapt to new environments, so cognitive skills may shift toward higher-level thinking rather than simple information storage. Knowledge may become more collaborative between humans and machines. Neurotechnology may also help treat neurological disorders. Scientists are studying ways to repair damaged neural pathways, restore memory function, and improve brain health. Future medicine may focus on enhancing brain resilience, preventing cognitive decline, and supporting emotional balance throughout life. The brain's natural plasticity makes these possibilities more realistic than ever before. Learning itself may become more personalized in the future. Instead of standardized education systems, learning may adapt to each person's neural patterns, attention span, and emotional preferences. This could make education more efficient and more enjoyable. The brain learns best when information is presented in meaningful, engaging, and emotionally relevant ways. Human consciousness may also be studied more deeply in the coming decades. Scientists are still trying to understand how subjective experience emerges from neural activity. Future research may reveal new insights about awareness, perception, and the nature of reality itself. Some scientists believe consciousness research will be one of the most important scientific frontiers of this century. Mental health understanding is also likely to improve. Future psychology may focus more on prevention rather than treatment. Stress management, emotional regulation training, and cognitive resilience building may become part of daily life education. The goal will be to help people maintain healthy minds rather than only treating problems after they appear. Human creativity will likely continue expanding. As people collaborate with technology, new forms of art, music, storytelling, and scientific discovery may emerge. Creativity is one of the brain's most powerful survival tools because it allows adaptation to new challenges. The future may see even greater creative expression as tools become more advanced. Despite technological progress, some things will remain deeply human. The need for connection, meaning, love, and understanding will likely never disappear. The brain evolved not only for intelligence, but for emotional and social survival. Future societies may become more technologically advanced, but emotional experience will remain at the center of human life. As you rest tonight, think of the future as an open door rather than a fixed destination. Your brain is not limited to what it is today. It is capable of learning, growing, adapting, and evolving across your entire lifetime. Every experience you have contributes to shaping your future self. And as we close this sleepy journey through the science of the mind, remember this gentle truth. Your brain is not just an organ. It is a living story, constantly writing itself through thoughts, memories, emotions, and dreams. The future of the mind is not somewhere far away. It is already quietly unfolding inside you, moment by moment, as you continue to think, learn, feel, and live. Crescent Moon.